So one of the things that was like in the arsenal, they called it, what did they call it? They called it the Kraken. This lawsuit out of that the state of Texas filed, that the Supreme Court just batted away pretty much. And there is so much misinformation out there about this lawsuit and the recourse that the state has and stuff like that. And so we have asked a constitutional law professor, Jocelyn Hardrick. She is a professor at Florida Cooley, and she is going to talk to us and explain to us how this Texas lawsuit did not get taken up. Some people apparently are confused about that. Professor Hardrick, are you with us?
I am.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, I am getting so good at working this board. It's not even funny. Thank you so much for joining us, Professor Hardrick. And can you explain so that our listeners can understand how the Supreme Court does not automatically take this case up and what standing means, because apparently there's a whole new definition of standing out there, and just give us a little roadmap into how this all went down.
Okay. So it's interesting because my students, I just wrapped up my Common Law 1 class, and they're like, wait, how is this working? Didn't we just learn about these things? And I'm like, yeah, your understanding is correct. So Texas decides it wants to sue Pennsylvania, claiming the way Pennsylvania ran its elections in these other states was incorrect. And so standing means that before you can come before any federal court, and especially the Supreme Court, the person bringing the case has to show they have a dog in the fight. That's what standing basically is. And so the Supreme Court here said, Texas, you have absolutely no basis to tell Pennsylvania and these other states how to run their state elections. And so under Rule 17 of the Supreme Court rules, before you can file your complaint before the Supreme Court, you have to file basically a notice that you would like to file a complaint, and the court decides whether or not you can go forward and file it. And so the court in its order was denying Texas's motion to file a complaint. And so when you go before the Supreme Court, first you have to have jurisdiction. And the Supreme Court does have exclusive and original jurisdiction anytime one state sues another state. So that is clear. What's debatable, and I guess what Justice Thomas and Alito have consistently held, is the Supreme Court doesn't have discretion about whether or not it can take those cases. But if you look at the cases, it has regularly held that just because we have exclusive and original jurisdiction doesn't mean it's mandatory.
Right.
If we don't think there's merit, we're not going to allow them to file the complaint, and that's what the justices said here in this case.
And Thomas and Alito have been pretty consistent throughout anytime a case does come before them. So it's not like reading into the tea leaves to say that they rule this way in this case, correct?
That's correct. They all agreed that Texas completely lacks standing. And so now that the Electoral College has convened and they have accepted all the votes from the several states, it's now also moot. And so there would be no further basis for Texas to try to amend its complaint or say that it's still entitled to some form of relief. And so there's not really a chance of it going forward. And frankly, if you read the complaint, it reads more like a press release than an actual complaint.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
They claim that, there's due process violations and equal protection and that there's some violation of the Electors Clause of the Constitution. But the Electors Clause only says that the states get to decide who the electors are, and those electors would then, cast their ballots. And all throughout the complaint, they're talking about the ballots weren't counted, they weren't signed properly, there was irregularities, and that has nothing to do with the state deciding who their electors are. So there's just no basis from the beginning.
What about, are you able to speak to this rumor circulating amongst the non-believers in the electoral process that the whole thing is going to be moot because once it gets before the Senate's going to throw it all down?
Well, what's required once the Electoral College convenes, as it has done, on January 6th, they deliver the votes to the president of the Senate, who is always the vice president, so it's Mike Pence. And Mike Pence then has to, in front of both the Senate and the House of Representatives, read the votes, and then they vote to accept them as of January 6th. And so it's not just the Senate that gets to decide that. That's the first thing. And it would be, it's highly, highly unlikely that Congress at this point is going to reject it, particularly given that the Republican Party and some of its leaders has finally come forward and said, we accept the fact that Joe Biden is the president-elect. So that's highly unlikely to happen. But it is the next step on January 6th. That's what must happen in order to finalize Biden's election. And then on January 20th at noon, it is automatic. He's the president of the United States.
You don't have to leave, but you can't stay here.
There you go. So, there's that meme of do not get carried out of...
I just keep imagining him sitting on Joe Biden's lap.
Oh my gosh. He's going to do ugly.
Yeah, there's no doubt. But, and I've seen people posting things like, there's Attorney General Barr said there is no evidence of fraud. Irregularities happen in every election, but then people on social media are like trying to post evidence. And I'm like, well, that's interesting because Rudy Giuliani and the Texas Attorney General failed to produce any evidence. So that's where they're getting it from, who knows?
It blows my mind. I'm an attorney as well. I do civil litigation, but it blows my mind to read the and I keep telling myself, don't read the comments, but you just can't look away, And so you read the comments and it's like, oh my gosh, there are so many uninformed people out here. We've got to get us a constitutional law scholar because I don't have the patience to explain this to people.
No. And like I said, my very students who just completed the course are like, this doesn't make sense. I'm like, you're right.
Yeah. Oh, it would have made for an awesome final exam question, though, right?
I know it would. I'm already thinking that. So I think next term.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this entire 4 years just didn't make sense.
No. It turned. Professor Hardrick, is there any other election in history that has gone through the kind of shenanigans this one did?
I'm thinking back to the Civil War is probably when we've had this much rumors and a lack of belief in the system because people were as divided as they are now. But yeah, I did some research because I was thinking, has this ever happened? I'm like, not really. It's, during the McCarthy era, we had some of this, but everyone was under the impression that, this is partisanship in politics, but at the end of the day, we're going to follow our democratic.
Right. Exactly.
And I think this is the first time it's been directly attacked, and we've really had doubt whether elected officials will follow the rules.
And ironically enough, the judicial branch is the one that saved the day because executive and legislative were like in the toilet.
Well, we should have just had a duel.
Yeah.
To start with, right? We have history of that, right?
That would be awesome.
Throwing down, fist, take off those jackets with all those buttons, and just
the
throw
seconds.
down.
The vice presidential candidates could be the seconds. Yes.
Dr. Fauci on the side, observing the duel. Yeah, this could have been good.
Well, we thank you so much for...
Can I have one more question?
Yeah,
Since we have the good constitutional professor online.
Absolutely.
And I'd like to invite callers if they had any direct questions to give us a call. I don't know what the time frame is, but Professor, is there any challenges to existing precedent that we need to keep our eyes and ears open for as we go forward under this new Supreme Court and this new administration?
Any new challenges? So do you mean to things like abortion rights?
Yeah, I didn't want to say it because then the board lights up.
Oh, yeah. And, Justice Thomas and Alito have been very outspoken. I mean, Alito had that talk with the Federalist Society where he just spoke directly on marriage equality and how that needs to be overturned.
Good Lord.
Definitely abortion rights are looking to be limited. So they're just waiting for the right case to come before them.
Right.
Because remember Kim Clark, the woman who was, Kim Davis, the woman who was arrested because she refused to issue the marriage certificate. So that case finally got decided, And Justice Clarence Thomas said, this case was not the right case to deal with this whole gay people should have the right to marriage thing,
right.
But let the right case come before me, and it's going to go away. He basically said that.
Yeah, she was kind of a PR nightmare, though, right? This Kim Davis.
She was.
There was so much social media content there.
Yeah, she's a state employee, and no one's asking her to do it personally. I mean, it was PR again.
Yeah.
But if you have someone who does have standing and the case is in the right procedural posture, they're going to try to overturn it. They have the vote. And
are we just sitting ducks for that type of action? I mean, is there anything that concerned citizens can do or say to their legislators? I mean, is there any recourse? Or are we just stuck?
I wouldn't say we're stuck. I mean, the Supreme Court's job is to interpret the law, and so there's a constitutional amendment. It's very difficult to do, but we recently celebrated, the 19th Amendment giving women the right to vote, and there was a concerted effort among, the citizens who lobbied their legislatures and got it in Congress, and once you have the states approving it, by a majority, it can become a constitutional amendment.
Right.
So that would be the next avenue.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dr. Hardrick, we really appreciate you calling in. And hopefully we can have you on again to tell us more about the Constitution.
I would love it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.